Welcome everyone. I think that we can start. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Next Generation Networks for Carriers and Wireless ISPs. And this will be an introduction to Tarana's game-changing fixed wireless solution for fiber replacement. We have today an excellent lineup of speakers. Carlos from Wincom Technologies will briefly introduce Wincom and how we can support our customers. And Nick from Tarana Wireless will lead the main session. Before we begin, please know that this webinar is being recorded. If you have any questions, please write them down on the chat and they will be addressed during the presentation. Let's get started. Carlos, over to you.
Thank you, Agnieszka. And good morning to everyone, and thank you for joining this, I think, interesting webinar. We come with Nick, that is lead manager for Africa. So, Nick, how are you doing today? Are you okay?
Doing great, Carlos. Thanks for asking. I hope everyone is also doing well, and thanks for everyone for joining.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. We are really, pleased and excited to introduce Tarana. We are seeing, an increasing demanding and expectation of what Tarana means. And as Wincom Technologies, a premier global distributor of over 15 years in the EMEA region, and after a massive success in the US with Tarana, we are trying, also to launch Tarana solutions for our partners and new prospects in the EMEA region. I do think, and we do think pretty well that Tarana means a game changer in the fixed wireless access market. And I'm pretty sure that Nick will, run through this, with additional details and explain and provide, his own inputs in order to explain why Tarana can make it, and it's making a difference in the market as well. So, Nick, it's up to you. It's all yours. So, we are excited to listen your expertise and knowledge about Tarana. Thank you. Thank you.
So is it over to me now?
Right, it's yours.
Let me share my desktop. There we go. And just Carlos, just let me know if you can see my presentation. I'm just trying to get back onto Zoom.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Oops, I've lost. I can't see my audience, which is always a bit of a challenge. I like to kind of see people as I talk. So I'm now blind. I can. There we go. I think I found the other screen.
I do think there are all of them out there. So
okay,
no
here we go. Hi everybody. So thanks everyone for joining. Thanks to Wincom for arranging this session. I do appreciate it, and it's always great to have people take time out of their busy days to listen to a vendor and listen to today as I talk through a little bit about what makes Tarana different, where our value proposition lies, and what difference we're making to ISPs and operators around the world. Your time is precious, and hopefully today that you've taken time out to listen to Tarana, you'll see the value that we're bringing to operators, and that we think we've got a game changer, not just for today, not just for tomorrow, but we are the network of the future. And hopefully I will convey that. If you've got any questions, please do put it in the chat. As you heard at the start, I'm struggling to see things on my view of the webinar. But with that, let me just talk a little bit about the agenda. Really, it's just about Tarana, where we are as a business, where we've come from, our value proposition, what makes us different, and then the use cases. We all live in a competitive world. We're all struggling to, compete or outcompete our competitors. Everyone wants to eat your lunch, your breakfast, your dinner, and no one wants you to have dessert. And so, hopefully today what you will see is that our technology is a game changer that allows our customers, Wincom's customers, to be able to go and out-innovate and out-compete in the marketplace and build networks for the future. So, at the end, when you roll out Tarana, I think the whole point is that you've got a network that you can literally compete with any other technology out there, whether it be 5G, LTE, 4G, and 5G. or other fixed wireless, we really are a game changer in terms of our value proposition. So the real story around Tarana is that, yes, a big investment in technology. Always say you can fix problems one of two ways, time or money. Tarana took both time and money to fix wireless. So $450 million invested in R&D. We're very proud of what we've invented, and it is an invention. We haven't taken a 3GPP ecosystem, an LTE, 3G, 4G, 5G ecosystem, and then try to make it fit for purpose for fixed wireless. We didn't take an 802.11 ecosystem, the Wi-Fi that was built for indoors, and try and make that by retrofitting it fit for purpose for outdoors. And both of those technologies for outdoors for fixed customers is compromised. So we had to throw out the rule book, we had to throw out what was available and invent our own system so that we could bring to you a game-changing solution for broadband connectivity. We have a very rich and healthy leadership. Dale Brunland, who is one of the co-founders of Tarana, is one of the inventors of beamforming. He is one of the inventors and patent holders on OFDMA. This is the basis of both LTE and prior to that WiMAX. Again, we are so rich in terms of the talent and the vision within Tarana, and this is why we're so proud of the product that we've got today. Tarana itself has got 29 patents. There are well over 100 patents within Tarana executive and leadership. We're very proud of our patents. They're purpose built so that we can keep our thought leadership and our technology leadership into the future. And I always say to people, 4G is a great technology. 3G is a great technology. We all run around with mobile phones. It's not to say that another technology is a bad technology. It has a place and it's fit for purpose. But as good as 5G is today, and as good as 6G, as an example, will be tomorrow, we hold 7 patents on no line of sight. And this is a game changer for us. So, what we have done can't be replicated. Someone will have to come out, and physics is physics. What we're doing with signaling, what we're doing with RF, we've now patented this process, and it allows us to do extraordinary things with no line of sight links that our competitors can't do. And most of our competitors sit in, to some extent, into a standards-based body. So it's a committee. They decide what new features will come out in 802.11 ecosystem, or what will come out in the 3GPP ecosystem. We don't live by those rules. We create our own rules. And this helps us in terms of the product that I'll show you today that hopefully will absolutely wow you. We're absolutely committed at the same time to supporting our ecosystem, to supporting our technology. And we can uniquely do that because it's our IP. The system on chip, the hardware through the software stack, all of it, hardware acceleration, software acceleration, all of it is our IP. So what we can do in our own technology is unsurpassed in the industry. And so we've heavily invested in R&D. We've heavily invested in skilled resources that we will continue to be at the forefront of the fixed wireless game for years and years to come. The solution is really simple. We have a very smart box on the tower called the BN, and we have a very smart, effectively a miniature BN at the customer side. Both are beamforming. Both are unique in terms of that all the silicon, all the proprietary information, all the proprietary software that makes us unique is in both devices. And effectively, this is our portfolio. You have a BN, you have an RN. And that RN integrated, and I was actually having a conversation with someone in the industry 2 days ago, and they're in the antenna industry, and they couldn't believe that we don't have an external antenna. They really said, wow, really, you don't have one? And I said, yes. And our integrated antenna will service a customer at 30 kilometers and provide broadband, by definition, broadband service to that customer. We are really a remarkable technology. And so very simple portfolio, very simple to deploy, very simple in terms of stock management. We are scaled and we are scaling to support our customers. So we can today make more than 10,000 RNs a week. We have manufacturing in Mexico. We've brought online manufacturing in Taiwan. We are scaling because the demand that we're having for our products is really remarkable. Our quality is incredible, and we are every day working to improve it. And of course, we want to be the preeminent product in the market. And so we are not stopping at what we've already designed and developed. We are obviously going to carry on building on the foundation that we've started. And it's a good foundation. So in 2022, when I was being engaged for this role, Tarana was going through another round of funding. And that round of funding for $170 million, which allowed us to bring on manufacturing in Mexico and be able to bring on contract manufacturing and scale the business and buy components for the demand that we saw, we were seen as this unicorn. And that's great. I had a girlfriend back in the day who said to me, join a company that's, going to be a unicorn, because that's the exciting stuff. And I saw this, and of course, Tarana was very, very exciting. But it's one thing to be in the news one day and to be all, it's just marketing, and it's just, they've got a great marketing budget. But it's another thing to be not a flash in the pan. And so fast forward 2 years to August of last year, Tarana is the #1 telecoms company in terms of growth in America, and we're the 24th fastest growing company in America. And we have unprecedented growth. And we came out of the worst supply chain disaster of all time, out of COVID, where you placed an order and they came back to you 6 months later and said, oh, by the way, the lead time's another 6 months, and by the way, you have to pay double. And to scale a business during that time, I don't know that many people can appreciate this, but the work that went into bringing out a product in the worst supply chain disaster of all time is remarkable. And that product is now in more than 300 operators around the world. We've been relied upon by, across different industries, from fixed wireless and ISPs to operators to vertical applications for mission critical applications, is a testament to how good the company is at scaling and making sure that we're supporting our customers. And what are our customers doing with us? So our customers are looking at us and saying, which niche do we fit, or what gap do we fit? And we really are the broadband player. So what do I mean by that? So satellite is great. And if you're very in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, nothing better than satellite. And of course, if you're in the middle of an urban dense environment, high-rise city, fiber is the best product for you. What we're doing is we're filling, where fiber ends, we are the fiber extension. And where 5G ends, we are the 5G extension. But we not just complement those two technologies, we can also compete against those two technologies and compete against them very, very well. And why do I say that? What we're doing and what we've done, and what that $450 million invested in Tarana in an R&D has enabled, is we are effectively like ultra high capacity fiber, but wirelessly. And what we're doing is we're taking free spectrum, unlicensed spectrum, and we're making it as though it was licensed to us. And it sounds hard to believe, but effectively making a wireless PON system is what our groundbreaking technology has enabled us to offer our customers. But how do we do it? And what's the secret sauce? That's always important. So the first bit about the secret sauce, and it comes back to one of the founders of Tarana and one of the inventors of beamforming. Most of our competitors offer some sort of beamforming, and beamforming has been around for years. And what they're doing is they're beamforming the main lobe of the radio, and typically they're doing it on the base node, either in the uplink, or they're doing it both in the uplink and the downlink. Now that's great and has some value. What we're doing is completely different, in that what we're doing is we're taking not just the main lobe and beamforming it on the base node, but we're actually able to beamform on both sides of the link. And not only are we able to beamform both sides of the link in the main lobe, we're also able to beamform the side lobes. And let that set in for a second. Not just the main lobe, we can also beamform and steer and push all of our power through the side lobes. What we're able to do is we're able to switch our beams more than 5,000 times a second. So if we have an interferer coming in, as you can see in the slide, and an interferer comes into the radio, we can measure the duration, the direction, the intensity of that incoming transmission, and we're able to create a null in the radio away from that source of interference. And we can do this 5,000 times a second, so we can steer our beams 5,000 times a second, and that effectively allows us to cancel 2.5 million interferers a second. Now, typically, we're a good neighbor. And I say that we are typically a good neighbor because we're trying to not cause interference to others. By creating a null, it means we're not sending energy towards another radio that might be on the tower. And in most cases, we are a good neighbor, but of course, RF is such that you will have some degree of noise when you put up another radio in the same band. But effectively, even though we might cause some knock-on effect to other equipment, we ourselves are isolating ourselves and literally canceling 40 dB of noise coming into the radio. The next part of the, solving the problem of fixed wireless and working in unlicensed or in free spectrum. And this is specifically true of mobile technology. Mobile technology, cell technology, is designed for you, the user, to move from cell to cell to cell. So your mobile phone is a cellular phone. It's moving between cells. And what that means is as it starts to lose signal at the cell edge, as it starts to be dip in the frequency and as the connection becomes maybe a little bit unstable, the cell phone looks for the next cell to make and break. So it looks to the next cell to get a stronger signal, and then it breaks over and moves over to the next cell. Fixed wireless is different. It stays fixed. So if you're at the cell edge, you're not getting the best experience. And this is why, the 3GPP ecosystem is challenged, because it's not designed for high capacity at the cell edge. 3G, 4G is 20 to 30%, 20 to 25% efficient at the cell edge. 5G is a little bit better, 30 to 35% efficient at the cell edge, because it's primarily designed for mobile, where we are designed for fixed. We are 90 to 95% efficient at the cell edge. What does that mean? That means that because we're designed not just for the cell edge, how we design for the cell edge because of multipath, we actually want to have multiple signals coming through, and then we are able to reconstruct those signals. So we can reassemble in real time multiple signals that are coming to us because of multipath. By design, we can send 6 signals out of the base node, and at the remote node, choose which of those signals are the best signals, and then reassemble them even if they come in at disparate times. A simple way to understand that: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is how the radio transmits. But because of the multipath, how the remote node here is, it is 2, 5, 6, 7, 10, 9, 1. And what we're doing in real time is reassembling that signal, because we can improve that signal because of multipath by 1,000 times. We improve that signal by 30 dB. So not only are we able to cancel 40 dB of noise, but we can improve our own signal by 30 dB. And this allows us to have incredibly strong and robust and reliable links, even in no line of sight conditions. What does that look like? Well, if this bus is driving through your signal, for us, this bus doesn't matter if it was driving 1,000 kilometers an hour or 1 kilometer an hour. Our signal, our beams can adjust 5,000 times a second. As the bus drives through our signal, we can in real time choose another path to go through and effectively in real time readjust our signal so that we maintain that link. And so that bus for us effectively doesn't exist. And we've done this multiple times and demonstrated this multiple times, that we can operate in extreme no line of sight conditions, but it has little to no impact on the signal and the reliability of the link. So here's a good example of, I wish I had the people on, maybe in the chat, you can vote which color. Quickly, before I go into the next slide, you can vote, where is the BN? It's like, where's Wally? So if you choose a color, lock it in your mind. Don't change. If you're talking with friends, if you're in the boardroom with others, choose your color. Where is the BN? And this here, if you chose green, you are one of the correct ones. A contractor went and installed a Tarana BN, Sometimes, unfortunately, contractors go and choose the path of least resistance, and they installed it probably in the worst place you could install it, this tower. And this tower, and next to it was a complete mess. I'll show you in a second. But I hope this video now shows you what I mean by our no line of sight and our ability to cancel interference. So I took this video. This is a place called Middleburg. That is a remote node that was installed, also probably the cheapest and easiest route, on a dish. It's pointed directly at this building. It's a 3-story building, so it's pointed directly at it. And I'm going to walk through and then zoom in on where there are 3 towers, 2 operators, and then an ISP tower that has probably got 200 radios on that tower on the left-hand side. And the tower that we are connected to is there in the middle. This link was giving service and providing a business with reliable connectivity. And this link was around about 3 kilometers from the radio, from the base node. We wouldn't recommend no line of sight past 2 kilometers, but sometimes the technology does more than what we ask of it. This is a good example again of the cell edge, how we can perform at distance. So there's a very crazy tower. Unfortunately, a lot of ISPs are forced to stack them high, stack them deep, and this creates additional challenges for themselves. We then went and installed. If you look at the right-hand side picture, you can see there's about 8 other unlicensed radios. None of those radios were connected to this tower, by the way. They were all connected to a hop closer to this tower. And so the ISP did this test because we told them that we could connect using the integrated remote node at plus 15 kilometers, plus 20 kilometers, up to 30 kilometers. So this particular link is at 19 kilometers. And you can see there that we're achieving 272 megs in the down and 80 megs in the up. This is a 350 meg net aggregate link at 20 kilometers. Now, for those of you who have a calculator, I did an exercise in South Africa. I'll do it in dollars because maybe it's a little bit easier for everyone, but he's doing aerial fiber at 350 Rand or $20 per meter. Aerial fiber at $20 per meter times. And if we did this link with fiber and just did this, I mean, I know it's an exaggeration, but this is 20 kilometers. That's $400,000 to get that link if you had to do fiber. Of course, you would spur and you'd break off, but you still have to take backhaul to a location. So $400,000 for a few $100s, we're giving you a 350 meg net aggregate link. And that's again is because at the cell edge, we're incredibly efficient. So that link could go another 5-10 kilometers and still give probably in excess of 200 megs from that tower, which is incredibly noisy. So what does that look like for a network operator? Well, here you can see it. So here is 9 towers, 36, sectors. We're covering 250,000 homes, which is, exaggerating, being very conservative. That's less than $10 a home passed. Obviously, the home connected is different, but we are by factors a different way to think about building a network because we can build much greater density with much fewer towers that reduces operational costs significantly. So typically we can have where our competitors would probably have 6, 7, 8 towers, we could probably replace those with 1 tower. And that is the efficiency of both our ability to deliver high capacity at distance, but then also be able to then cover no line of sight, near line of sight, which allows us to then obviously have and require less coverage. We can do density, and this is, goes to some of the slides that I'll talk a little bit later on about 5G. 5G is a sub 800 meter technology. And so it's a great technology, does lots of capacity, but because of the modulation, because of the uplink, it is a short distance. I mean, if you think about cellular technology, 2G, 20, 30 kilometers, 3G, 3, 4 kilometers, LTE sub 1 kilometer, 5G is really a few hundred meters, and that is even in the sub 6 bands. What we have here is every single one of these customers, barring a handful, are more than 3 kilometers away from the tower. This operator would need to build another tower if this was 5G, and then they wouldn't be able to service all of these customers from one tower. And so what we're doing is we're able to give, and in this tower, for example, there's more than 50 customers here that are plus 100 meg services. And that is all strict SLA. So if they bought 100 megs and we go and install 100 megs, they need to get 100 megs and they need to get 100 megs because it's an SLA service in 6 months and 12 months and 2 years and 10 years. And so all of these customers are getting their SLA. And as you can see here, the utilization of the base node at the peak is 45%. And at the peak, we're delivering 750 megs in the downlink to these customers. Now, if you think about maybe your own environment and your own equipment that you're using, what we're being told is that most of our competitors are around about 150 to 200 megs usable capacity in the downlink. We, at 45% utilization, are doing 750 meg. We have another 870 meg that we can still pass in the downlink. This is 1.5 gigs of capacity that we can still pass in the sector, and we're at 154 subs. So we can do density really like no one else in the market. And this gives our operators the ability to do that densification and the coverage that makes us very, very unique. Again, we are, typically 5, 6, 7 competitor towers to our one tower. That's not the only thing. I mean, we spoke about no line of sight, but this is a hero story. This, unfortunately, is 3 gigahertz, so not everyone has access to 3 gigahertz, but I think it shows the remarkable technology. And actually, I have another slide that I'll pick up a little bit later on, which shows the same effect, but on 5 gigahertz. But here, because of a storm, the tower fell down. The operator drove to the tower with his wife. When they got there, they switched off the breakers, and then he started getting calls from his Tarana customers saying, "Hey, why is my service down?" He didn't realize that the Tarana was still up 80 feet down on the ground, facing the wrong way. And that is the amazing no line of sight that we are able to deliver in really just defies physics to a large extent. It's still physics, so we still have the rules, but really it is a game changer. But why do I bring up that slide is because of this. So uniquely, some customers, and specifically business customers, want high availability. They want stricter SLAs, and they want some kind of assurance of service delivery. What we're able to do, because we're not just beamforming on the base node, we're also beamforming on the remote node, is we have what we call primary BN functionality. That means that the remote node has its primary BN, its main BM, that when it connects to, that's the one that it's looking for because it's going to give the best service. But you might lose backhaul to a site, or you might lose power to a site. And in the instance where you lose power to a site, or you lose backhaul to a site, you can set that on the remote node, if it loses power, or if it loses connectivity to the base node, it can then go and look for an alternative, a secondary base node. So it's moved from its primary base node to its secondary base node. And you can set this at instantaneously, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 50 minutes, 20 minutes. And so effectively, the remote node will then go and get service from its secondary or alternative BN. It could very well be reduced service. So you might be on a 400 meg or a 500 meg link or a 300 meg link, and you're only able to get 150 megs or 50 megs from the secondary BN, but your customer's still up. And this is obviously a key feature, especially in Africa, where we have some power challenges. When the base node comes back, quite simply, the remote nodes will reestablish connectivity. And again, you can set this. Do they do it immediately, or do they do it at 2 o'clock in the morning? You can set when they reconnect, because of course it is not frictionless. There will be downtime to the customer, but you can set that downtime to the customer, but at least the customer still has service. And again, this is all made possible because of our beamforming on both sides of the link. So what are the use cases? So we've been very successful in our 3 gigahertz. We're replacing LT networks all over the show because of our no line of sight. We're a real alternative to LTE. We're able to penetrate trees, foliage, and high density buildings and be able to overcome those line of sight challenges. And this makes it remarkable. And so, yes, LTE is good, and yes, customers want LTE specifically on their mobile phone, but for fixed services, really and truly, they have some challenges. For example, LTE really is capped. Most of the packages are based on consumption. You've got 100 gigs or 200 gigs or a terabyte, and typically they sign you into 12, 20 months, 24 months, 36 months, and you will consume that very, very quickly. So the coverage are good, but typically the data is limited and the service is slow. Fiber is great, but our customers are deploying us because they're seeing that they can deploy Tarana that can compare with fiber, offer the same speeds, same or greater reliability, and be a more cost-effective solution in terms of time to build, time to deploy, and obviously avoiding things like typically high labor costs. Now, in Africa, there's a lot of challenge because there's a lot of cheap fiber that's been strung along poles, etc. And I don't know if those of you who saw, but 3 weeks ago, Kenya Power cut in Nairobi all the fiber on the power lines. All of it's gone. And there's a deluge of just bad aerial fiber being built all over Africa. And the service is terrible. And the downtime is remarkable. And the complaints are huge. What's nice about Tarana is it's difficult to cut the wires. But real operators who are spending real money, $200 million plus, more than that, are deploying Tarana because we are a genuine alternative to fiber deployment. So again, we can complement fiber, we can extend fiber, and where it makes sense, of course, always only ever deploy fiber where you've got the density. But not everywhere needs fiber. And so here's a good example in Cape Town. Here are the different fiber providers. And if you think about South Africa, and every country is different, but in South Africa, it's about 35% uptake on fiber. So 65% of homes that are passed are not taking the fiber. They're still staying on their wireless service, or they're staying on their mobile service. And so there's still, huge opportunity even where fiber has been built. That being said, it's very expensive to fill the gaps. So this is the Western Cape. So there's still lots of opportunity for wireless, but even where there is fiber, there's still opportunity because the uptake is still 30, 35, and in best case scenarios, some operators are seeing 40, 45%, and some operators are only building to estates. Because there they will get a higher uptake, because fiber can obviously still be very expensive and time consuming to build. And there's time in the market and time to market. Time in the market is Tarana, quick to deploy, quick, easy, but not nasty. As someone said, you can have quick, cheap, quick, good, or cheap. But you can't have all three at the same time. 5G is good, great speed, but it's spectrum starved, and the spectrum's expensive. This was an auction from South Africa a couple of years ago. 14 billion rand in revenue from their spectrum auction, and the operators got some of them 4 megs and additional 4 megs of megahertz of spectrum. Some of them got upwards of 40 megahertz of spectrum, and if you look at Nigeria, 2 lots of 100 megahertz of allotments were auctioned for $273 million. If you look at that investment in 5G and you're a wireless operator and you go, how do we compete with that? Pay attention to the next 2 slides. The first one is a 5G site that is 3 or 4 sectors, depending on the configuration, will support around 90 fixed users. A site that's 360 degrees. And on 5G, you're looking at sub 800 meters for reliable service. And a consumer will download 2 terabytes in less than 48 hours. And if you go and look at the fair usage policy across all of the 5G providers, virtually across the globe, you will see a fair usage policy because they are spectrum starved by fixed users. And here you can see an example out of South Africa, that 2 terabytes at 100 megs, and then it's throttled to 4 megabits per second, and then it's throttled again to 2 megabits per second because spectrum is an issue. Tarana, we are equivalent with 20 megahertz to a 5G operator deploying 100 megahertz of spectrum. And I'd like you to, sink in your teeth into that for a moment. So this is and allows our ISPs to compete and be able to go and knock on a door and say to any customer, I know you might be interested in 5G, and 5G is a great buzzword, but I have a technology that will outstrip that all day long and provide you greater service, greater coverage, greater capacity for, for uncapped, unshaped services. It is a game changer. So I'm not going to go, and I think we're time constrained a little bit. I'm going to try and get into some questions. But if you look at who Tarana is, today there's a spectrum exhaust. If you look at our trials and our testing with mobile operators and 5G operators, we've demonstrated that we can outperform 5G at distance and with capacity where 5G won't even get a link. We're able to deliver hundreds of megabits per second. And the two of the largest operators in the United States are our customers. One is an investor in Tarana, and recently the fifth largest US mobile operator, US Cellular, launched the Tarana network in Missouri. So again, we are making huge inroads because we are, the alternative to fiber, 4G, 5G, in terms of being able to deliver unparalleled fixed connectivity. So I've already covered that. Our architecture is quite simple. It's a layer 2 service. So we are sitting at the base node. I showed you that picture right at the beginning. It's the base node that sits on the tower. You bring it power, you bring it fiber, and then it will be able to connect customers up to 30 kilometers away from the tower. And the remote node, we only currently have one remote node, and they will provide service, depending on the spectrum, up to 1.6 gigabits per second at the end user in terms of speed and capacity. And then I say we've got one unit, but we've got another one coming. So we announced last year at Wispapalooza that we'll bring what we call RNV, and this is a remarkable product that will provide a lower cost entry for our customers, but without really compromising in terms of performance. So it's designed for line of sight applications, but you'll find that this is a remarkable product for being able to deliver high capacity services to customers at up to 30 kilometers with unrivaled performance in the market. So I tried to race through that, and hopefully I didn't lose anyone behind, but thank you for that. And then I look forward to questions. Carlos, can I hand it back to you?
Yes. I do think, thank you, Nick, because I love the approach because, in our expertise, Winco has been, working in the wireless arena for over 30 years. So we are working with, well-known manufacturers, but the approach is quite different because other manufacturers are comparing each other in regards to pure fixed wireless access, deployments. So it's because of the capacity, the distance, and so on. And all the names of these guys. But Tarana, you can see, guys, it's comparing to fiber, to 5G, to the new technologies as well. So I do think fixed wireless broadband access that many people are saying no, it's lagging, it's has a niche market. With Tarana, we are saying it's a game changer because you can, compete against fiber, against 5G, and even, not only compete, but also, use with reliable solutions based on Tarana platform, as a complementary solutions for fiber or 5G, not only in rural or suburban areas, but also in the pure urban area. So I love this approach, Nick. It's pretty amazing, how Tarana is getting and setting the pace for the next generation. So thank you for this presentation. I don't know if anybody has any question in the chat. Let me see, the chat is working.
Yes, please check. There is something on the chat.
Okay. Well, let's wait, for shy people to, to ask. One of the things that I will also, to highlight is in Wincon EMEA, we are starting with we started last year mostly, with the Tarana. We have not only proof of concept, but also rolling, deployments in the UK, also in Portugal. There are some coming from in Greece as well, and in the Middle East. So, I invite all the attendants in order, to approach us, ask for, proof of concept kit. Tarana has a, really well price for that, because no matter what Nick, Tarana team, even Wincon team can, say about Tarana, the best, way to test the solution is on the field, for sure. And in order, if you want to, in order to compare with other vendors, manufacturers, or whatever, and even in noisy environments, we have seen that it's works properly. Okay, it's amazing. Even the non-line of sight capabilities is for real. I do know, and we do know that other manufacturers right now are coming with a kind of non-line of sight capabilities for the future. It's something that is still in the roadmap, but Tarana is already, working on that. So just so we invite you to test it. I think we have a question.
Carlos,
Can you see that?
Yeah, I see the chat. So thanks for some
Okay.
of the comments and questions. So, Hane, exactly. A lot of our customers are offering to fiber customers Tarana as a backup. And in some cases, we've actually got a video case study out of South Africa where, because of the fiber cuts, the customer made the Tarana the primary link, and the backup was the fiber. So, so we're a bit of both. And then in terms of military service experience, I need to come back to you on the 256 encryption. I think by default we're 128, but I will, Carlos, with you, we'll get a definitive answer on that. And
Okay.
then Muadin, if I pronounce your name right, we normally use LT with 4 different bands. I don't know if that's L08 megahertz with 50 megahertz and 80 megahertz with 20 megahertz and 2.1 megahertz with 10 megahertz. So 45 megahertz total. I need to probably read that again. Some sites still not enough throughput demand. We added TDD, massive MIMO, still high demand. We have indoor coverage still. What solution can we have like this scenario? Okay. So I probably have to unpack that a little bit more. The simple answer is, it's I suppose if I was speaking to an LTE operator, which I am, is you want to take off your high demand, high capacity users off the network first. So the guys that are eating up all the spectrum. So the guys that are doing 200 gigs, 400 gigs, a terabyte of downloads a month, and you want to target them. And once you've ascertained where those customers are and built a heat map of some kind, I'm sure you've already got that, of where those high demand users are. Those are the easy ones to move off your LTE network. If they're fixed LTE, if they're a combination of fixed and mobile, obviously you want to keep your mobile subscribers, you want to keep them having better service and not having dropped calls. So I would definitely focus at the fixed users, and then be able to go and expand that and go and pick up customers. The customer that's going to use a few megabits per month and sitting on his mobile phone, he's not going to change. But it's those fixed users that you want to start with, and certainly you want to then be able to extend your cell range. And for us, it's to leave no customer behind. So those customers that are hard to reach because of either distance or no line of sight. But Muadin, be great conversation to get into the detail. So I'm just shooting from the hip here, thinking out loud about some of the use cases that we could probably speak to you and maybe look at helping you with. I don't see another question. I would love to unpack that more, I think. And then I've just had from my colleague, we are 256, and this is for you, Tanel, 256 bits encryption between TCS, which is our NMS, and the base node. But between the base node and the remote node, we're 128-bit encryption. And if I understand my maths correctly, 128-bit encryption will take a supercomputer around about 1 billion years to solve. So depends on the military application.
Okay. Thank you.
I think
No,
we
good.
don't have more questions. So we can finish. Thank you all for joining us today. If you will have questions later, please do not feel free to reach out to us. And 18 years is enough. Okay. Have a great day, and we look forward to seeing you in our future webinars. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Carlos, and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.